There's never been another paddle that I love and hate more than this one right here. What's up guys, and welcome back to the West Side. I've been using the Selkirk Labs 007 10mm Epic for the past 2 months. And I wanted to make an update review so I can share my thoughts on how this paddle has played, what's the durability like, pros and cons, all that good stuff. So let's get into it. My initial thoughts about this paddle when I first opened it up and took it out of the box was, dang, this is the best looking paddle on the market, hands down. I may be biased because I love red and black and white. That color combo is just so sick. It looks so clean. I just like, gosh, even if this paddle was terrible, I would still play with it just because it looks so darn good. But hey, it better look good for $333, right? After my first play session with the 007, I noticed a huge jump up in power from my previous paddle, which would be that little guy right there. This was technically my first power paddle and it blew me away. My drives, my serves, the pop at the net, everything just felt so strong. I had to learn how to dial it in and just really hold back because everything was just flying way out of bounds when I played with it for like the first hour and a half. I will say that the handle is pretty short. It's a 5.35 or 5.25 inch handle. And to get two hands, it's like I have to scoop my hand all the way down and I have to really make some room for this paddle right here. So I don't really like how it's so short. I know it's their Epic shape, but still add like a 1/4 inch on there and it would be a lot better. One of the biggest learning curves with this paddle is the amount of pop that this thing produces. It is so much fun, but so hard to control, insanely hard to control. The sweet spot on this paddle is really small. I mean, you either hit dead center and anywhere else outside of there, done. The titanium mesh is in the center of the paddle, so it's like a square cutout, but still the sweet spot's a lot smaller than the titanium mesh layer. And there's no titanium up here. This right here is just kiss your rally goodbye. If you hit it here, it's going into the net, it's gonna die. And what made it so hard is that I would either hit it dead center or on the dead zone. And I just realized that this paddle is so unforgiving if you make a mistake. And it's really rewarding if you play it right. But yeah, I'll put some footage up right now of the dead spots. They're just crazy, man. I can't believe how my ball would just fall off the face of my paddle. So there were some times when I would play, I was pretty frustrated in the beginning, but then, 3 plays later, I would hit just like a laser down the middle and I was like, oh, what did I do different there? Now, one of the features that this paddle boasts is the new Infinigrit Sueface. They've been putting the Infinigrit now on the new Luxe Airs. I think they like it because they're putting it on their best-selling paddle. So that means it must have worked on the 007. I didn't really know what to think of it, again, at the time, because anytime I hear spray on grit, it just makes me nervous because any spray on grit is not gonna last you long. So when I heard that the Infinigrit was a spray on grit, I was very skeptical at first to see if it was gonna last. And it did feel pretty gritty. It does not feel like carbon fiber. It feels like spray on grit, but at a more micro level. This is more like sandpaper, like more fine. Like if I rub right here, if you can see that, it's rubbing off my skin because that's how rough it is. It honestly feels like sandpaper. But after playing with this paddle for 2 months, it has been an absolute roller coaster of love and hate. There's been times where I just wanted to throw this away. There's been times where I would call this the best paddle in the world, and it would just go back and forth because I was still semi-new to pickleball. I didn't have all my basics down. So as I was learning the basics of pickleball, I was also trying to use an extremely difficult paddle, a power paddle, to learn at the same time, which did not make anything easier for me. That was totally my fault. But the one thing I wanna say right out of the gate, this is a high skill level paddle. This is not for beginners. I would even say that it's probably not even for intermediate players. And I was more of like beginner intermediate when I first picked this up. This paddle was not doing me any favors with helping me learn the game. That tiny sweet spot in the dead center and the huge dead spots around it just make it so unforgiving. Like, golly, there's just been so many times where I just wish that it had a better sweet spot. Even with putting lead tape, I put lead tape all along the edges on both sides and then a sticker on top just to broaden the sweet spot, because I noticed right here near the throat hole, it was also pretty dead on the corners, and it just still didn't open it up that much, man. Sweet spot was still really, really small. And then not to mention the twist weight was really low. If anybody got into a hand battle with me at the net and they hit me on the edge right here, my paddle would twist, the ball would just fall on the floor. So, really, really frustrating. But I will say this, if you can dial in the 007, I just think that it's like a top tier paddle. I know that's probably a hot take, probably an unpopular take, to be honest with you. But when you are able to play this paddle at the highest level and you're able to play it well, when you know your paddle, you know how to use it, you've dialed it in, and you're using it to the best of your abilities, it is so good. There's just been days where I was able to play it against some really heavy competition, and I just thought this is what's carrying me right now. I am not this good to compete with all these other people. It's only my paddle that is carrying me this far to do so good right now. So if you're good with thin poppy paddles like this, and you think you can control the amount of pop that this puts out while still dealing with the lack of control that it has, then this might be like your best friend. But if you are not that type of player, you have to have a forgiving paddle, whether it's a more wide body shape or it just has a better sweet spot, it's more forgiving, the twist weight is higher. This will be your nightmare. Don't even think about buying this. Don't even look at it. As good as it looks, don't even look at it because you're gonna wanna buy it. Don't do it because this paddle's not for you, all right? Now, I would still rank this as my #1 or #2 paddle. I'm kind of going back and forth. I'm not sure if my broken in Agassi is more powerful or this one, because like I said, once I hit it dead center on the sweet spot, it definitely competes with the Agassi that's already broken in. So I go back and forth with it. I'm not sure if it's #1 or #2, but as far as pop goes, #1, hands down, not even close. This thing has so much pop at the net, and that's why I fell in love with this at first. It was so much fun to block paddles, and just blocking them almost felt like a speed up for me. I didn't have to add any extra force on my blocks to make them fly at my opponent. And that felt like really, really cool. Another super underrated thing that I kept coming back to this paddle for was the hand speed that it provided. The hand speed was just awesome. I think this was what made me want lighter paddles, because I realized how fast my hand can move with this. Even though this is weighted, this is like 8.3 ounces. But for whatever reason, the hand speed with this, it was just amazing. I think the swing weight, stock swing weight for this is like 107. That's great. I love a low swing weight. But it's also not super light like an Owl paddle or the Friday Fever. It's still heavy enough to have that plow through on your serves and your drives, but still have that hand speed to go back and forth with your opponent in a hands battle. So really, when I was playing with this paddle, I prioritized getting to the net and beating my opponents at the net more so than driving it hard from the baseline or trying to serve hard. I would just play my serves and drives normal and really focus on getting to the net and relying on that sweet spot, just crossing my fingers, hoping that if they hit my paddle, it would hit my sweet spot and it would just rocket right back at them. That was really my game plan. And when it would work, I just had the funnest day ever. When it didn't work, I wanted to throw this thing in my bag and just quit for the day. Another huge plus about this paddle is that the Infinigrit has stayed gritty. I'm actually pretty shocked because the claim for Selkirk was that it was gonna last 7 times longer than traditional carbon fiber layups, which is a bold claim. 3 times longer, and it's held up. It's held up really, really well. You can see that my paddle has not really scratched up either. And so it's kept that grit for these past 2 months, which is a really good thing. Whenever you see a paddle hold true on durability and longevity, that's always a breath of fresh air, because most paddles nowadays just don't last that long. This is constructed as a Gen 2 paddle as well. There's no perimeter foam along the edges. It's just got the traditional polypropylene in the center with that titanium mesh layer, and obviously a couple of other features. I think because it's constructed as a Gen 2 paddle, it's gonna last longer than some of the Gen 3 paddles I have up on my wall right now, which again, I'm all for that. One thing that crossed my mind when I was watching the PPA Tour is that I don't think I saw any pro player using this paddle, which was kind of disappointing. I really wanted to see someone use this just to see like, hey, is this actually good in the pro scene or not? But no one's given this a fair shake at it. So I'm kind of disappointed. People would rather use the Power Air from Selkirk, which I don't know. I've never played with it. I've heard a lot of negative reviews about it. So that's why it's confusing why some of the people, I think like Kwang Dong was using that. And Jack Sock, I think, was even using, I think the Power Air, if I'm not mistaken. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. But they were using paddles like that instead of this one. And I just thought, why would you not use, you know, some of the latest and greatest technology that Selkirk has to offer instead of, you know, outdated paddles? But I don't know, that's just me. I just found it interesting. Now this paddle hasn't loosened up. I haven't felt it break in yet. Again, that's a good thing. It still feels stiff as a board. I mean, this is the stiffest paddle I have on my wall. And from other people that I've heard, this is a really, really stiff paddle. It is pretty jarring when you don't hit in the center. And even if you do hit in the center, it doesn't feel the most comfortable when you're hitting the ball. It doesn't feel as plush or as soft as something like the Agassi. It's also not muted like the carbon true foams. You can feel everything on this paddle. You may hate that you can feel every little thing, but for me, I actually like that because it gives me the feedback that I need to know how to correct my shots when I hit them wrong. So if I feel that ugly feedback from hitting it on the top, I'll know for next time, okay, don't hit it there because obviously the ball died. The paddle is kind of telling me like, hey, don't hit me there. I'm not gonna do what I'm supposed to do. Hit me over here. And I like that feedback. Personally, I think that helps me out a lot more instead of having like a muted paddle, because when your paddle is so muted, you don't know if you're hitting a good shot or a bad shot because it all feels the same. All of your hits on your paddle feel too similar. This does a good job, almost a little too good, at making you feel all of your hits and all of your dinks, all of your drives. Overall, this is easily one of the funnest paddles I've ever used, as long as you're using it correctly. And at the same time, this was also one of my most frustrating paddles to use. For me personally, I actually like using paddles that are outside of the meta. That's why that owl one is so much fun to use as well. I think it's fun to use a challenging paddle. I don't really like using the most broken, overpowered paddles that everybody else is using. I've never really been like that. Even with video games, I've never been like that. I don't like going with the meta that much. I kind of like going outside the box, seeing if I can try something else that's new. Maybe it's not that good, but I can make it good. I enjoy doing that. Now, kind of going off of what I said earlier, this paddle is for a very small demographic. This is for people who A, have a lot of money, and B, are experienced players. This comes in at $333. I think that's the most expensive paddle I've seen. So I can't recommend this paddle for the average player or for beginner players. I can really only recommend this paddle for people who have the money, that money's not a problem, and they want to try a new paddle that's fun and challenging. But there you have it. Those are my thoughts on the Project 007. What do you guys think of this? I really enjoyed playing with this paddle. I think it's so unique. Dude, it looks so sick. Like, you cannot look at this and tell me that this is not the best looking paddle on the market right now. There's some other ones that look cool, they look clean, but this one, it just stands out so much. That red and black is just killer. If you guys have played with it, what do you think of it? Would you be willing to spend $333? I might be able to answer that for you. That's probably a no. So that's why I bought it for you guys. I don't see a lot of people with this paddle, so I'm really interested if anybody has ever tried this or played against somebody who was using this. That's what I'm actually more curious about. If you've played against this paddle, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys again on the west side.